Jared, are you on? Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is August 27th, 2024, 7 p.m., and we are at the Genoa Township Hall, 5111 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio 43082. We have two cases. Oh, we have one case tonight. I apologize. BZA case 2024-07, which is an area variance for 4777 Worthington Road. This is the second meeting for that case. We have staff present, Susan Dorsch, Paul Benson, and Council Peter Griggs. And I will call the roll. Ms. Yu? Here. Mr. Phillips? Here. Mr. DeRose? Here. Mr. Christian? Here. And Mr. Campanella is in the back, and the chairman is here also. Okay, the hearing this evening was continued from June 25th, 2024. Therefore, actually, we are going to reopen public comment tonight. And I will start with the review and approval of the prior meeting's minutes from July 23rd, 2024. And I'll make a motion to approve those, but I'm going to still give you a moment to look those over, and then I'll entertain a second. Anyone want to make a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any revisions, any issues? Anyone noted?
No.
Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes from July 23rd, 2024, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. And we will now open our public hearing for the area variance at 7:03. And I will read the legal notice in the record, and then I'll ask those who wish to speak on this matter to stand and be sworn in. Tigran and Irma Safarian requesting approval of a variance to allow for two freestanding signs to exceed the maximum 24 square foot of signage in a residential zoning district at 4777 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio 43082, parcel number 317-240-01-001 and 003. Currently zoned rural residential RR, BZA case 2024-07, continued from June 25th, 2024. Those wishing to appear on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Excuse me. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please be seated. Thank you. And we will start with, oh, excuse me. We do have two exhibits that have been revised or added, which is Exhibit E, which is a drawing showing potential revision to the lot line location, and Exhibit F, as in Frank, email from Jack Reynolds received August 21st, 2024 regarding sign lighting times. And let's hear from the applicant. If you want to, at the table or at the podium, your choice. And please reintroduce yourself again, counsel, if you don't mind.
Okay, my name is Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney with Smith & Hale, 37 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio. And why don't you all introduce yourselves?
I'm Irma Safarian. I'm resident of Farmington Steve Atikian, resident of Armenian State as well.
I, Superior, resident of New State.
Okay.
Okay.
Microphones are off.
Yeah, if it's green, you're on.
Push green.
Ah, there you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, we made our presentation to you all 2 months ago.
Yes.
And so we were charged with going back and looking at what are some of the alternatives and make that presentation to you. So where we started with, obviously, is we went back to the sign company and we said, we've got a wall that is 38 feet long and 11 feet high, and we've got a panel that's already built into the wall. And we've got 2 signs, as we all know, and we are allowed 23.2 square feet from the code. So we said to the sign company, can you please look at 11.6 feet on each one of the panels? And what exactly are we looking at in terms of size of sign and the colors that we're interested in maintaining as a part of our Armenian estate representation to the community? And so what we, if you think about it, it would be 11 feet long and 1 foot high. And so that is 1 foot. And so we had them put a number of different alternatives on the existing sign. And what we did was we said, okay, if you have 1 foot, put Armenian estates and something that gives us that color underneath. And we came up with a very small sign. So we said, okay, let's add some height and, get some more letter size. And what happened at that point in time is that the length of the sign started coming down with every inch that we went up, the length of the sign came down. So even when you went up to 2 feet to try to get the Armenian estates and the color below it, the length of the sign came down to 5 feet. And so what we were stuck with was something that wasn't very appropriate to the size and the length of A, the wall itself, and B, the panel. So what we found was that wasn't appropriate, and we didn't want to present something to you that we didn't feel was appropriate for the size and the length of the sign. So the second thing we went to was we said, what about if we were to create two lots on which each of the signs were located? So we asked our surveyor to give us a representation of taking the sign to the south and taking it off of the sign to the north, off of that parcel, and create 2 parcels, each having 1 sign on it. So what that created was we would have a 38 square foot sign on each parcel. We felt that we would meet the 23.2 square foot that was allowable under code. So we would be before you this evening asking at least for 2 38 square foot signs that would require a variance for each parcel of 14.2 feet. So that would be the alternative under that scenario. Now, we did meet with staff and went over some of these scenarios. We did not go in depth as to what other variances might be required based on that lot split. If that were the board's desire, what we would probably do this evening is to ask for you all to table it once again so that we could go forward and go through all of the steps that would be required to split the lot with the two different, sign on each lot. And we do know that through the county engineer's office and the auditor's office, it would be, they would approve it. It's just what zoning items would be required for approval from the township. So that's an alternative for you all to consider. The last one is a timer on the sign, because obviously the signs are lit, and we have, it would kind of be up to the board. I mean, we made it a time of 10 o'clock. If the desire, we would be able to set the timer at any time, at 10 o'clock in the summer is different from 10 o'clock during the winter. We would be willing to, move the timer to dusk or something along that line. That would be up to the board, kind of to give us some guidance. But again, we would be more than willing to put a timer on and turn it off. We made the offer of 10 p.m. And just see how you all felt about that time. Again, it's not it's a backlit sign. Both the Armenian Estates and the banner below it are all backlit. So it's not like we're beacons unto the night. But again, if that is the desire of the board, those are again, those were kind of the 3 steps that we took to make a presentation to you all this evening. And we're here, we can answer any questions, but once again, our sign company is kind of tired of us because we put them through a number of different alternatives in terms of trying to create a sign that was visible to the traveling public and then was something that was proportional with the overall look of the 2 walls and the sign panel. But I didn't want to bring something to you this evening that we didn't feel was appropriate and that, we did not want to spend the additional money to take down what's there today and create something that wasn't appropriate for the community itself or what we felt was appropriate. So I didn't want to waste your time there. So it's a lot split that we could do and asking you for a variance for 14.2 square feet per sign, plus any of the variances that would be required to create. And I don't know if you all have that for them or they've been able to see it, but all we did was we created a little box out. Yeah, they all have. Okay, just a little box out that would put the south, there you go, the south sign on Erna's lot, and then the other sign on Ty's lot.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Any comment?
Mr. Reynolds, the variance that was one of the options, the 14.2 feet, I think you
Yeah.
said. What percentage is that? I didn't run that. Percentage variance
Oh, geez.
from the code.
That's a good one. Because it would be, code would permit 23.2 square feet. So up to 38 is probably in the 60% range. You'd be looking at probably a 30%, 40% increase over what's permitted by code.
Permitted 12 foot, permitted, almost 12 foot permitted, we're asking for 14, 2 more foot. That's what it is, right? I think that's 23.2 for both sides, and we're asking for 28.4
Hang
for
on.
both sides. From 23 to 28.
23.2 divided by 38 is, so it's 61%, so it would be a 39% increase over what is permitted by code. Well, code, each sign would be allowed 23.2, and we're talking about 38 square feet. So what is the increase over the 23.2 up to 38? I think that's correct.
I think it depends on how you calculate, the sign in all, because I think if you count the strips at the bottom, then
Yeah.
that increases the size of the sign. I think for staff, we're not sure that splitting the lot or, making this pieces, the sign sections on two separate lots may not cause more issues down the road for you, because it's our understanding that there may be some other lots created and a proposed like common access drive. And I would suggest maybe looking into those items first before, maybe moving ahead with that option, because you don't want to do something that then you have, you're not meeting their setbacks or their requirements, and they're the ones who issue everything and regulate all the requirements for the CAD, not the township level, but at the county level. So just a point that, to consider before going forward with that. And, if they're looking at the sign staying the same, whether it's on one lot or two lots, it's going to visually be the same. So, you might want to consider that, position for the board too, because it's still splitting the lot doesn't change the look of anything, but it might lessen your percentage.
And it really doesn't, it doesn't comply with the spirit of the code either, is you're basically doing a workaround to get around, in my opinion. You're doing a workaround to get around the code.
It's an option, and I mean, it's a legitimate option.
Here, let me just make a couple of comments.
Okay.
And you can address them. Number one is, I thought when we were here in June that you guys were going, and it sounds like you did, you were going to explore reducing the side of the sign and then come back to us, and that it was going to be compliant. Okay. Then my memory is still okay.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't quite lost it like my wife says. Okay. The other thing is too, is that the other comment I make is that you've presented three alternatives. And we, are not the architectural committee for the township because there isn't one, okay? Love it, hate it, doesn't matter. That's not really what we do. And along those lines, not only do we not dictate what that sign should look like or what, the code says what size it should be, we don't say, well, we like option 2, so do option 2. We're never, ever going to do that.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I think unless somebody else has anything for the applicant, I've got one. We're going to go into, quote, public comment. And the reason we are is I was contacted. And so I feel as though it's my obligation to disclose that I was contacted regarding this application, and I did not respond to the person that contacted me, but I will read this into the record so that it is fully disclosed. It starts, and I had received a previous text from this person, and you'll see why I say that. Since you did not respond to my text, here are my thoughts. Applicant states this is a subdivision. Does Genoa grant variances for subdivision signs? If yes, then approve Armenian Estates. If no, then deny Armenian Estates. Already installed, culture and heritage are irrelevant factors, and that was sent to me yesterday afternoon by prior trustee Frank D'Antonio. And like I said, I just want to put it out there that I did receive that communication, and for that reason, I will allow a limited amount of public comment. Till each speaker will have 3 minutes, and I'm going to hold you to the 3 minutes, okay? So does anyone wish to make a comment on this application? If so, please go to the podium and state your name and address and make your comment. Oh. You, sir?
Okay, I've talked before. I could care less if this place was named Armenians.
Name and address, sir.
Oh, Bill Andrews, 3501 Sunbury Road, Galena.
Okay.
Okay, I could care less if this is Presbyterian Estates, Armenian Estates, or Jewish Estates. I could care less. For me, Armenian is a Christian religion. I have Armenian friends that came from Syria and other places in Europe. So that's no big deal to me. What is a big deal is we don't compromise our code. You guys don't make the code, but you don't go and put up walls and put up all this stuff. You guys are all smart enough to know that there's a code and there's different zoning things, and you just don't build a wall and then say, oh, give us a variance to allow for the wall. Oh, we want to put up a sign that's too big, so give us a variance to have a sign that's too big. It's real simple. If this is right, a sign is supposed to be 24 square feet. That's it. This is a rural residential area. It's not a Kroger's lot. It's 24 square feet. There's no compromise. What are you compromising the code for? Lighting up the sign in a rural residential at night or dusk or in the morning, I don't get, this is a residential area. What are you trying to advertise? When I was sitting back here before, there were 3 people from Fleur Drive and 2 from Lewis Center sitting to my left. And they both, they just didn't want to talk. They were really upset. Their lots are all lit up at night by the lights that Armenian Estates put out, and their backyard's all lit up, and they came and sit in their back porch. But not everybody wants to talk. That's just it. People are bashful, and they don't want to talk. So I'm just going to tell you some of the things that I have heard. I'll just use what you just said, sir. You said, what is appropriate for the area? What's appropriate for the area isn't a lit-up sign and isn't something that's two signs that are 32 square foot each. I mean, you're just going at the thing. I thought the variance for this wall was going to be 8 feet. You allow 8 feet of wall, which is 115 feet long. It's a huge thing for this area. Just, it's obnoxious. But so you put up this wall, but it's supposed to be 8 feet, but you just said a minute ago it was 11 feet. I'll go a step further. On both sides of the wall, there's a fence. The fence goes as high as 8 feet, 8 inches. I mean, everything about this is not for the people in the area and for their enjoyment. It's for whatever purpose you're making this edifice to yourself. And you guys aren't responsible for making edifices or taking religion under control or whatever. Let's see here. The bottom line is the code's the code, and you guys shouldn't be changing it around because somebody else is frivolous enough and ignores you enough just to put up whatever they put up and then say, give us a variance, do this, do that. Just ignore it. Ignore the area, ignore the other neighbors, ignore everything, and just go ahead and somehow compromise. There's no compromise. The code is the code. Make the sign, 24 square feet, that's the end of it. No more discussion about an architect says or this or that or all the other fangle-dangle things you keep hearing about. So it's real simple. The code, put your sign up on a wall that should also be cut down by 3 feet. Okay? Cut the wall down. The wall's too tall.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm sorry, I don't think that mic is working. Is that mic working?
Should be.
My hearing is bad.
Oh, it's the acoustics in here, trust me. I can probably hear you better back there than I can hear them, trust me. I've been coming in here a long time, trust me. Go ahead, Mr. Whelan.
Rick Whelan, 9500 Britton Woods Drive, Galena. Just to reiterate one thing that Bill said, we have section 104 in our code that says interpretation, and it describes the stuff in our zoning resolution, which we should be adhering to. And our codes are set up as a minimum. So our 24 square feet is a minimum requirement. That's the minimum stuff that we put into our code, 24 square feet, that we allowed that to be, size-wise. So once we do that, we don't want anybody going over that. That's the red line in the sand, unless there is some type of a unnecessary hardship. Read your code. You guys aren't supposed to prove anything unless there's an unnecessary hardship here. I haven't heard one. Maybe you guys can explain one to me. Maybe the applicant can explain me his unnecessary hardship. In section 1806, under zoning resolution for this sign stuff, it says that the purpose of the resolution in the residential zoning district is to preserve the non-commercial character of residential neighborhoods. I attest that this is not a non-commercial signage. This is definitely a commercial signage in a residential neighborhood. It shouldn't be there. I don't know how it got approved the first time. Like he said, he brought up sizes about size. If they had an 8-foot sign approved the first time, how did it get to be 11 feet? And they commented tonight that it was 11 feet. I do have some questions on how you're calculating that signage and stuff on there, because our code says you can have a maximum of 24 square feet is the maximum for that sign. And they're coming up with 2 signs that are almost 76, actually 77.8 when you do the calculations. I really think that this board needs to sit down and have somebody explain to them the exact measurements and dimensions of this sign and who's calculating this stuff. Because it seems, it's not very clear to me, or I'd like to have the board, come up here and show the public and stuff on how they're actually calculating these signs and the size for this stuff. I think it's misrepresented to the board. I think the board either needs to hire some type of an architect or a design firm to come in and explain this to themselves and to the public so we can understand this. Because reading down through the code, it's very hard to determine. And from what the information that we have here to attest to, it's very hard to determine. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Sir, introduce yourself, please, name and address.
Mark Laubacher, 4724 Chantry Drive, Galena, Ohio, 43021. I believe the previous gentleman, he used the word minimum. I think you may have wanted to use the word maximum, 24 square feet. You used that word minimum multiple times. And I believe you needed to not use the word maximum. You're welcome. I'm a little confused because there's 2 signs that say Armenian Estates, if I'm correct. Are both signs sitting at the address of 4777 Worthington Road?
Yes, currently. It's on the north.
Well, I was just trying to get some clarification for my comments. That's all. So the combined signage certainly exceeds the limitations, and I agree with the other comments that have been made that it should not be in a position of the board to be granting variances. People follow they have the rules before them and just adhere to the rules of the residential areas. You moved in, those rules are there, set in place. I had to do the same thing when I built my house. I would have loved to have a tandem garage, but I was 6 inches short. The tandem garage would have exceeded 6 inches, and they're like, well, you can go for a variance, and I was told, don't even bother because it won't be granted. Because if they do it once, they're gonna have to do it for anybody else. I was short 6 inches. So it didn't happen. So I would advise the board to just adhere to the standards that are set in place in the codes, so we're not back here all the time granting assorted variances on signage. Unless somebody has any questions, I'll let it go for there. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, anybody else? Is that all? Sir? Name and address, please.
Daniel Swall, I live at 68254 Drive, right next door to them. Is that good? All right. So I live immediately adjacent to their sign there, have for throughout this whole process and everything. Regardless of personal opinions on design or anything, I think we're all here about the code and everything, and I think we can all gonna agree it's pretty convoluted and hard to understand what some of these things are throughout all these hearings. Living right next door to them with the backlight sign, I experienced minimal effects even in the middle of the night from that sign. It's a backlit sign. There's not spotlights shining into myself and all my kids' bedrooms or on the back of the house directly facing where the sign is. We don't see many issues with it. A little bit of a glow from the color during the winter when there's no leaves on the trees, but for the most part, I would just like people to stop calling me and knocking on our door in regards to this sign. It has been going on for an extremely long amount of time. I'm getting calls from people I don't know, asking me to come to these meetings, asking me to, side with them, this and that. I'm just ready for it to be done, is really what I'm ready for. I don't know if anybody here has been the people that's calling us, but it's like half dozen times now. Every time there's a hearing on this, we're getting phone calls, we're getting people, coming and approaching us, pick my side. You live directly next door to them. And I'm just ready for it to be over. So I felt a need to come to the meeting today and kind of express that as an immediate neighbor, for some resolution on this. And, I've talked with several of my neighbors and everything there. I think that, they planted trees along our whole side between their property line and our property line. I don't know how many trees it was, probably 100+ trees planted there. To provide, some shade to us, and as those trees mature, I'm sure it will be a very, thick wall there that, alleviates any sort of concerns that any other neighbors may have. I just want, being immediately next door, I felt, it affects us more than anybody else that may drive by it for 10 seconds out of their day. So I wanted to come out here and kind of voice my opinion on the sign. So appreciate your time.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
does he have any opposition to it? Gentlemen,
Oh, go ahead.
do you have any opposition to the sign?
To the sign?
Yes.
No, I mean, not really.
Anybody else? Okay, we will close public comment.
No,
And,
I think you have.
go ahead, Jack. Mr. Reynolds.
Let me just simply say, that unfortunately, there has been confusion as this process has been going on for quite a bit of time. The owners did try to work out what was appropriate, what was permitted under code, and one of Ty's employees came in, tried to understand what was permitted by code. And if you look at the sign that was erected The sign, the letters itself are 23.1 square feet in size. So each one of the lettering signs meets code. The misunderstanding was that the banner that's below it was considered a sign. So that is where the misunderstanding and the increase in the signage came from in terms of, oh my goodness, we went from 23.13 to 38. Because the code says that you've got to include a box around the entire sign. So what happened was when you included the box and included the little streamer, the band along the bottom of it, all of a sudden it became 38. So it wasn't, there was some confusion as to how the sign was measured in terms of the area. And also, the misunderstanding was that we've got two walls. Each one of them would have a 23.13 square foot sign. So that was the misunderstanding. That's how the signs got put up. That's why we're here with what is before you this evening. Now, one of the other concessions that the owners have offered is that there would be no lighting on the signs. They would simply have the sign, they would turn off the electric to the sign, and it would simply be Armenian Estates during the day and no lighting at all at night. So we would put that forward, it would simply be a sign with no lighting, backlighting at all. So as to the gentleman and anybody else who was concerned about lighting at night, we would drop that concern, and it would simply be the sign as you see it during the day without the illumination.
Okay. Anything, anybody?
Mr. Reynolds, I do have a question. The white portion here, are you saying that is or isn't sign, according to the definition?
According to the definition, only the lettering is the sign.
No, basically, can I show? So basically, sign is considered from this corner to this corner. If you remove the flag, we're fine. We don't have to be here. We're only here because of the flag here. If I remove the
Well,
flag,
there's two of them.
yeah,
there.
if I remove two flags, we're fine.
No,
The sign,
you got
letters
two
still
wall
apply.
signs.
So because of the fact that at this point in time, we're not counting this, we count as all this area, that's why we're not allowed to have that. That's why we're hearing from you guys. But the letters flag itself, it can be there. We don't need the variance for that. We only need it because of the fact that at this point in time, we're going to the whole box. Not this, but like this box from here to here, and actually from A, because A is larger. So we're going from A larger, from here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there are two signs.
yeah, yeah. Oh, no, with two signs, we're still fine. With the
No,
letters,
no.
not the boxes.
We have two signs, and the maximum that we're allowed is 23.1 total. Total. Yeah,
Oh, okay, gotcha. I got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're not, I mean, there was confusion, and,
So now the lot split suggestion makes more sense.
yeah, that
Yes,
was it.
okay.
Was that you would have the separate signs on each lot that, again, would be counted separately. Therefore, you know, they would represent, and we still have Armenian Estates, it still represents both parcels. So it reduces the variance that is required with the initial submittal, which was 76 square feet down to 23.2 or 24. But if we were to do the lot split, it would simply be 38 down to 23.2. 2 on each sign. So it would be 2 variances instead of 1. 2 variances instead of 1.
But as it sits right now, we haven't gotten to that point yet, right? The
Correct.
2 variances, the lot split. As it stands right now, 23 square feet is code,
Yes,
and you're asking to go to 76 feet.
that is correct. That's because you have to add the panel on each sign, which creates the 38 square feet. And then when you do 2 on the same lot,
I've done the math, it's 68.5% increase.
For one.
No, to go from, they're allowed to have 24 square feet cumulative for all the signage. They are seeking a variance that would total to be able to put 76 square feet.
Right.
76 square feet is a 68.5% increase over the code.
Wouldn't 68% be, yeah.
It's 227.6%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
That's why I go to law school, I didn't do math.
Yeah, 'cause-
That's why I didn't put the
Yeah,
math major
because the
either.
change is about, it's around 50.
yeah. So that, again, we walked through all of the alternatives in terms of what was appropriate, again,
I don't mean to interrupt, but when you said shrinking the sign as it is to fit, brings it down, you said about 5 feet?
it depends, we had the poor sign guy
Yeah.
do a number of different alternatives in terms of, okay, we wanted to make sure that the lettering was appropriately sized. And so what happened with that is that the sign came this way every time we went up, because we were only allowed 23.2 per sign.
Right.
So, as you work with numbers, you go up some, you got to bring it this way. So when you tried to center it, it just didn't look right because you had this big wide white area. And again, it wasn't proportioned because you had a little sign that was in this big wide area. And we said that it just doesn't make any sense. So as we discussed last meeting that we were before you, we tried to come up with some alternatives, sign square footage size for each sign. It didn't work. We still need a variance because we've got 2 signs.
Council, did you guys consider, did you have a rendering, if we have 2 signs and 2 words, Armenian on one and Estates on the other?
We did not do that.
But it's 2 houses though. It's 2 houses, 2 separate addresses, right?
I hadn't even given that thought. I don't know what you all feel about trying to split it up. Once again, it's representative of the estates and that's what they felt was appropriate for the site. They asked for the signs, they got the square footage, and they did put them up. We tried to fit the Armenian estates and the band on each sign. And it simply wasn't appropriate given what we were working with. So we'd still be willing to do the lot split, and then that would obviously reduce the square footage that would be needed for each lot, because each sign would be on its own separate parcel. So obviously that creates, a lesser amount of a variance that would be needed.
It's still a variance.
It's still a variance.
And that's going to be Bob's number, 68% from 23 to 38?
Yes.
So it's going to be
Then that
a
would- yeah.
68%,
It's a 68% increase. Each.
yeah.
Even
That's where
without,
my math came in.
even without the
68%
banners,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still
right.
100%
And see,
larger
we're-
than allowed.
you know, just.
Because there are two signs.
We're heading down that rabbit hole.
You
again.
can't have
We're
two signs.
Trying to tell them.
You can't
Yeah.
have
What they should
signage on two signs. You're
Yeah.
only allowed
You know,
23.2 square feet between two signs.
Oh, no, I'm not being critical. I'm just saying,
You're-
I don't want to.
For each, that's why I'm saying
I don't wanna head down that
11.6 is on each
Um,
side.
Why don't we clarify the actual ask tonight? We've had a bunch of things bounce around, Mr. Chair. Why don't we
What,
clarify the record and have council tell us what the specific ask for us right now?
all right, Bob, go ahead. You're up.
Oh. To help our deliberations.
Okay,
And this is good discourse for trying to solve
sure.
a problem. But at this stage, before we go into deliberations,
Yeah.
I would like you to clarify what the actual ask is for us tonight. Of all the options that have been presented, we've had a number of things discussed.
Yeah.
If you could boil down and simplify, what is the actual ask for us to deliberate tonight?
And before you answer that, I want you to keep a couple things in mind. A, we're not going to dictate what to do. Me personally, I would not, if I were standing in your shoes, I don't know that a lot split really accomplishes what you want to do, because you're still going to need a variance, A. B, I don't think lighting is particularly a factor in that shutting the lights off at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I don't know, some o'clock. I don't know that that's a factor, because I've got an adjacent resident that says, we don't care about the lighting. Let's see, what was, lots of lit, timer on lights. Sign reduction. No lights. Well, no lights is in the category of turn them off. So really, for me, you gave 4 alternatives, okay? I'm 1 vote. There's 4 more here. If it's me, I don't think those are 3 viable alternatives of the 4 you presented. I don't think they accomplish what you want to accomplish, because what you want to accomplish is not having to come back and see this wonderful board. And by the way, we'd all like to move on. So, that being said, I think Bob has quantified the issue that's out there. Is please tell us exactly what you want us to consider for approval.
I mean, it's up.
Like I said, we don't say, well, we'll do this, so we won't do that, or we will do this. We really want to know, what do you want? I think we talked, and I can hear you. We talked about that at the last
Yeah.
meeting, if I recall, just removal of the flag piece of the sign.
Yep.
Which, does it become compliant, except it's ×2?
Yep.
If you remove the flag, is that, I
Yep.
mean, I'm not particularly bright, especially when it comes to math.
Yeah, if I recall the
But
If both
if you
flags were
removed
gone
the
from
banner
road.
down here,
banner.
then this complies, correct?
Both, yeah, and both signs would
And the fact that you've
comply.
got one on each, because, I know what it looks like. You got 2
Yeah.
walls,
Yep.
and you got one on this one and one on this one. And so you're asking at that point, if you do that, you're asking for a variance to add the second sign to the other wall. Is
Correct.
that what you're asking? Or is
Correct.
that, is that
Which is 100% variance.
correct?
Which,
Okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah, so we talked about that last time, and that is an option. Why don't we put forward that we would remove the banner from the 2 signs? That would reduce the square footage from 38 down to 23.13, which meets code, because code is 23.2. So then we would simply be asking for an additional sign at 23.1 feet. That would be meeting code. So the option, we could even do the lot split and not need variances.
That would be your choice.
Well, you wouldn't need that variance, you could possibly need other variances,
So
so.
Yeah, we may need
you
variances.
would probably need a variance for
Yeah.
one.
To split. I'm not sure
Right.
because we didn't walk through that.
Right.
The lot split's not before us.
Right, that's
It-
correct.
But then I have no problem considering, if that's the proposal to take the band off, considering the variance for a second sign.
Yeah,
Right, that's
I mean,
essentially what
yeah.
it boils down to. If they remove the,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say,
banner.
yeah, go do the lot split, and then
Oh.
it creates, more nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so why don't we simply ask you all to consider removing the banner
Okay.
from the sign, each sign, reducing the square footage to 23.1 square feet, which is below, if you were considering them separately, would be a code compliant.
right,
So then we are simply asking for the additional sign on the total site.
okay. Right.
Yes,
Yeah, without doing a lot. split,
doing a lot
without
split or
doing all
something.
that.
And if you do the math, it's,
46.26.
yep. Thank you.
So you passed those classes I didn't pass.
Did you double check my math?
Right, exactly. Yeah, right, just the way I look at it. it's
So the
100%
square footage has dropped
Correct.
dramatically because the banner's gone and the open space below the lettering and the banner is also gone.
I think we should go into executive session.
Yep, that's fine.
I hear a motion to go into discussion.
Private deliberations.
Pardon?
Private deliberations.
Private deliberations, thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Christian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're going to take a few minutes here.
All we'd have to do is figure out whether there'd be any variances doing the split. I don't know that yet. Well, if we don't, that's, you take the panels off and split the lot. I mean, yeah. Welcome to my world. I think it's 3 votes favorable, but let's wait and see. I think, I would like to think that by giving up the banner, brought down the amount of square footage. And we're now just asking for the combination of the two signs that meet code. And I mean, if worse comes to worse, will go down and split the lot, and they can't do a darn, well, I don't think we need a variance, but I didn't want to.
let's see. I think I have, do I have to entertain a motion to come back into session? Okay. Thank you, Bob. Second by Mark. All in favor? Aye. Okay. We're officially back into session at 8:15 PM. Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of confusion over numbers and signage. What we'd like to do is to try to come back to you all with exactly the square footage, take the band off, come up with some other alternatives that would be more acceptable to you all. So what we'd like to do is ask you to table it once again, give us some more time, and we would love to come back to you and hopefully nail down all the issues. So what I'd like.
Bring back something specific, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Instead of pointing at it on a wall and saying we would do this and we would think that it would be this square footage, if you would give us the time, we'd make the effort to make sure that everybody understands the request.
How much time do you think you need?
How about January, just to be on the safe side? The sign's there, we need to get it worked out, come back with everything that is there, numbers right. We'd even like to maybe work on some lighting options. So if you could, give us until January of 2025.
That would be January 28th of 2025?
That would be fine.
Okay.
Well, somebody's got to make the motion.
So moved.
I'm here. I'll make a motion for continuance of this case to January 2025, January 28th. And we'll continue the public hearing on the subject application known as 4777 Worthington Road, BZA case 2024-07, as I stated, to January 28th, 2025 in the Genoa Township Hall. Additional or revised materials will be due to the Genoa Township Development Zoning Department by December 30th.
Got it.
Of 2024 at 4 PM. And I'll I'm sorry? 7 PM. And do I hear a second? Second by Mr. DeRose. Discussion. Oh, sure. Oh, I thought you said you had a question. Oh, call the question. Mr. Christian?
Yes.
Mr. DeRose? Yes. Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion's carried. And this hearing is concluded at this time at 8:18. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I will move that. Mr. DeRose, Mr. Phillips, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we are
We
adjourned.
already have an application for next month, so we will see you all again.
Thank you again, Mr. Griggs, for joining us. As always, it was wonderful.